Indeed, the President of the Security Council has spoken. I can only add that we've had a very sound and very interactive dialogue. A number of specific questions were raised. You've seen the Secretary General's report. My briefing referred obviously to the importance of having timely, volume-based and predictable movements when it comes to the removal operation of chemical materials out of Syria through the port of Latakia. We've recognized consistently the constructive cooperation of the Syrian Arab Republic, but even more so the international effort that has been put to bear and is out there, provided through equipment, resources, the international maritime effort of a large number of countries, as well as the ongoing support by the Republic of Cyprus. Equally so, you'll recall this morning Secretary General has said intermediate milestones have not been met, but delays are not insurmountable, and that we think the deadline of 13th of June can be met. All equipments and requirements are in country. There is an expectation of swift movement, safe and secure, naturally noting the security conditions in country that are volatile and precarious. And obviously I will return to Syria over the weekend, and I look forward to an ongoing dialogue with counterparts and to work with the team to ensure that everything is done from verification, inspection, and that in-country based destruction also continues, because at the end of the day the overall objective of the elimination and destruction of Syria's chemical weapons program is the whole package. Removal is a big and important part of that, but there's ongoing destruction in country which also takes place. I'll take some questions.
You've talked about growing concern, and the President of the Security Council has talked about growing concern about the pace of this operation. Do you detect deliberate stalling by the Syrian government?
Take a few questions, or? Sorry? We have spoken, you may recall in earlier briefings and also today, there is ongoing progress in country. Security conditions has prevented some of our physical verification and inspection activities. However, it's been done remote. That is reported, is in line with the convention. Onward pre-positioning, packaging is taking place for future movements and continued removal. And the message, I think, is clear that there's an expectation of pace, volume and predictability. And a lot of work in countries happening right now. Because of confidentiality and in order to ensure the security of any forward planned convoys, of course, not much will be shared, and it certainly will not be shared with the larger public. We work closely with counterparts. I think the unity of purpose that the Security Council has displayed in terms of its expectation is clear, but we're also clear that we're saying the delays are not insurmountable.
So is that a yes or no to my question? Deliberate stalling or not?
No, I don't think so. There's an onward cooperation, there's implementation, there's an expectation, and delays are not insurmountable. Delays have a reason, there's a rationale, there's a context, and at the moment we work with counterparts to ensure. An example of that is the signature of the Status of Mission Agreement, as well as the medical, the MOU on medical evacuation, and a lot of work to prepare for forward movement, which the team is working on very closely in country.
Madam Kaag, the Syrian opposition actually accuses the government of each time missing the deadline. Whenever the deadline comes, that's missed. And they actually called on the Security Council to go for Chapter 7, to basically force the Syrian regime to comply with your mission. What do you say to the regime when they miss the deadline every time the deadline is there?
The deadline of 30th of June 2014 we have stated and reiterated by Secretary General, it can be met. That is an important one. Intermediate milestones ideally should have been met. They have not been met. There are delays. What we are now doing is to ensure that a plan will be available against which further benchmarking can take place that allows for planning, preparation, swift implementation. We also know there is an acceleration of effort and there can be an intensification of effort, and that is our call, and that is also what we state and what we do, what we work on with the Syrian authorities. There's a clear expectation.
Mrs. Kaag,
Sorry.
do you accept the new Russians' deadline for the 1st of March instead of the 5th of February to deliver all the priority one arms of Syria to the ships? And also, is the 31st of March deadline is now doable?
Well, I think there are different intermediate milestones. The deadline is 30th of June. I think we'd all be delighted if 1st of March will indeed be met. I think it displays a healthy level of ambition and expectation. I have no detailed technical insight on that deadline and pending. We're working to get everything done as soon as possible. It is, however, the Syrian Arab Republic's accountability, responsibility to meet its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention as well as Security Council Resolution 2118.
But the Russian ambassador said yesterday
Yeah,
that the 31st of March date will be met. Do you agree with that?
Different dates have been mentioned in the press. 1st of March is also one mentioned. I think what's important that we keep our eye on the ball, momentum, acceleration, intensification, and the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and it will be shown very shortly.
Mrs. Kaag, Madam, if you believe that, in fact, this is not being delayed deliberately by the Syrians, then in that case, what is it that you want the Syrians to do at this point in time to mitigate your concerns about this delay in this destruction?
Well, our message is clear also in the statement to the Security Council. It is demonstration of volume, intensification of effort, predictable plans that we know what's coming the next few weeks, and obviously an expectation to pick up the pace and all that is feasible, because it's a joint mission assessment that most of the requirements that are needed to implement this operation successfully are in country. So the security situation, of course, is always a factor of concern, particularly with the nature of this type of operation and reported attempts or plans of attacks. However, the joint mission does not have an independent view on those sources of information. What we are calling for is an expectation of delivery and timely implementation.
Mrs. Kaag, of course, security is a big concern, but is the Syrian government well equipped? Is there any logistic obstacles in their work to do the job within the time frame?
I can reiterate that it's been the joint mission's assessment, and it's been repeated in Secretary General's letter to the Council that from our view, sufficient material and materials, logistics, operational, all other requirements are in place to conduct this exercise. The Syrian authorities have identified themselves additional security-specific items which will not be provided by most members of the international community. It is their decision, it is their call.
Reports that only 5% of the at least identified chemical weapons stockpiles have actually been moving toward destruction or elimination. I mean, 5%, is that figure reasonably accurate?
I don't think it's helpful to engage in a numbers game, because if you look at the statistics of overall destruction and elimination, the numbers would look different. I think the 5% number was cited in regard to removal out of country. However, with ongoing destruction that is taking place as we speak of a certain chemical agent inside country, then the percentages change. Planned movements, for instance, going forward in future, in the not too distant future, would also increase the statistics. It would change it quite considerably. So I think it's better that we, as a joint mission, OPCW-UN, look at a direction of travel, a plan, and assess progress accordingly. Numbers don't lie, but you have to know what you're counting. And if I may give you an example, mustard is only 1.5% of the chemical weapons sort of arsenal that was available. It is, however, the most harmful chemical agent. Once that gets removed for onward destruction, a significant harmful agent is out of country. What I'm saying is it matters. We monitor it. It is important. However, we expect and we demand significant progress that will change any form of statistics. At the moment, I don't want to engage any further on this question. Thank you.
The Syrian government said that 2 of its weapons storage sites were attacked in early January. And I'm wondering, have you been able to see if that's the case? Would that present any dangers? And also, do you have any financial update? I know each time you've come, you've said that there'll be, I know that Canada gave some funds, but have pledges been met? And is there going to ever be a kind of a comprehensive listing of who gave what, who came through, and who didn't?
Yeah, it should have been on the website. Actually, before I came, because I knew you were going to ask the question, I said, has it been there? It is available. I don't know why it hasn't been posted. So that's you should be seeing that very shortly. When it comes to resources available, I think certainly the operation is currently well financed. I think what is a concern in any of the delays that participating member states internationally, particularly from the maritime effort, would incur additional cost, and of course that is not acceptable to them. And we of course want to make sure that any member state that is contributing feels that the money made available, direct, indirect, is well spent. And we spoke of that also in the Council. I forgot your first question, sorry.
No, it had to do with the attack on weapons.
The two sites, absolutely. We don't have independent verification that we would use as a joint mission. What is of concern when reports come in, reported threats, either against joint mission personnel or on sites or possible of convoys, we take note, we reflect it in statements. Equally so, what is of critical importance to ourselves as well is that we take any reported threat against the joint mission very seriously. We have introduced additional mitigation measures, and for one particular site visit we've had to undertake a remote verification and inspection, which is fully in line with the Convention.
Ms. Kaag, could you clarify, please? There was talk about under 5% removed, but you said it's more nuanced than that. How much of the arsenal remains to be destroyed? What percentage within the next 5 months to meet the deadline? And how are you going to know whether you're in trouble with meeting that deadline? How many weeks from now, or how much needs to be removed to ascertain, or not removed to ascertain that you're not going to meet the deadline?
Well, his benchmark progress, as I said, we're expecting a more detailed plan to be submitted, to be shared, so that we can look at the efforts to engage in acceleration, intensification, and clearly also the call on volume, systemic, predictable movements is very clear. That's an ask, it's an expectation also of the Security Council. I'm not going to engage in the statistics, the numbers, because I just mentioned it is more nuanced. The Syrian Arab Republic is accountable to the Chemical Weapons Convention and to Security Council Resolution 2118. So it has to meet its commitments. So we're in trouble. I would nuance that to say it is the state party that has signed up to the convention that needs to acquit itself of its obligations, and of course also be accountable under Security Council Resolution 2118. And we are there as a joint mission, OPCW-UN, to support, facilitate, assist, and also report back to OPCW and the Security Council as to how we assess progress, implementation, and the quality of the cooperation by the state party or the member state. Thank you.